I'm Bob Greenberg, grade pending. I'd like to do some impressions for you. My first one is Curly of the Three Stooges as the captain on the SS Titanic. Out of the way! Out of the way! Out of the way! Oh, look, an icicle! Hey, icicle! Where's your popsicle? There's the moon. There's the stars. There's an iceberg. An iceberg! Now I'd like to do for you Lou Costello at the John Gotti trial. Mr. DA, are you asking me if I think John Gotti's a member of organized crime? Well, I'll tell you, confidentially, oh, there's John Gotti. There's John Gotti. There's John Gotti! John Gotti! John Gotti! John Gotti! John Gotti! Hey, you're back! Stan Laurel as Prissy the Maid in Gone with the Wind. Oh, Miss Scarlet, I don't know nothing about birthing babies. Mammy said to put the knife under the bed, it cuts the pain, but I don't know. What, Mr. Butler? You don't give a damn, but I'm sorry! Oliver Hardy calling the sex hotline. Hello. It certainly is. Yes, I would like a spanking. Oh. Oh. Well, here's another fine mess you've got me into. Well, thank you. Goodbye. And finally, Jack Gleason doing Shakespeare. To be or not to be? Oh, that is the question. Because you know that I know. That you know that I'm the Prince of Denmark. Oh, I'm the Prince! I am the Prince! And Ophelia's a mental case. No! Now is the winter of our discontent. Mid glorious summer by the son of York. A horse. A horse. No! My kingdom for a horse. Or a string of Peloponnese. Peloponnese. If you tickle us, do we not laugh? Ha 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 ha! If you prick us, do we not bleed? Norton, prick me. You prick me, Norton. Norton, will you prick me? Ah! 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 Et tu, Norton? Et tu? Yarrow, you are a blabbermouth. A blabbermouth. Desdemona? Desdemona, bang! Zoom to the moon, Desdemona! To the moon! Juliet, what can I say, but baby, thou art the greatest. Elizabethan audiences are the greatest audience in the world. Good night, everybody! And in the words of Alfred Hitchcock, good evening.
academics and others argue, depends on such variables as geographical location, culture, maturity, age, level of education, intelligence, context, gender, race, religion, personality, etc., etc., etc. With all this in mind, I met our guest for today's show a few weeks ago at a Three Stooges festival at the Film Forum.
Certainly.
Certainly. Yuck, yuck. A long-established art cinema in Greenwich Village. It was 11 a.m. Sunday morning, hold on, showing, and I expected the studio to be at best, a third full. An audience made up largely of die-hard, older male Stooge fans, as myself. I had always been a particular fan of Curly, who I considered, as did Steve Allen, one of our most original yet seldom recognized comic geniuses. I found that Curly had the capacity to put a smile on my face automatically and continuously, as no one else did, literally, in the world of comedy.
Yeah.
I found it impossible with him to not be transported with him into his childlike mannerisms and natural comedic charm. Columbia Comedy Shorts put it this way: few comics have come close to equaling the pure energy and genuine sense of fun Curly was able to project. He was merriment personified, a creature of frantic action whose only concern was to satisfy his immediate cravings, allowing his emotion to dominate and making no attempt whatsoever to hide his true feelings. Like my guest, he would chuckle self-indulgently at his own cleverness. When confronted with a problem, he would grunt, slap his face, and tackle the obstacle with all the tenacity of a 6-year-old child.
Certainly.
As I settled in for this show, every seat was being taken, and a long wait list of people reported to be outside, hoping beyond hope that they could get in. The theater was jam-packed with children, from the very young to teenagers, young parents, grandparents, their grandchildren, middle-aged men and women, seniors, seniors, etc.
They weren't that old.
No, there's wheelchairs. They were paraplegics. They're all being brought in. My excitement increased with the idea that there was to be a live performance by Curly impersonator Bob Curly Greenberg, as well as the film shorts. It was as if Curly Howard, Jerome Lester Horwitz, would pop out of the screen to visit us all live as Bob Curly Greenberg. And true to form, both Curlys nailed the performances perfectly. It's true.
Thanks.
Bob was surrounded by adoring fans after the show, but he graciously accepted the invitation to bring his brilliant comedic imagination to the radical imagination. And we're thrilled to have Bob here as our guest. He performs regularly, almost finished here, but we need to get this in. He performs regularly at the Friars Club, the Metropolitan Room, and the Gotham Comedy Club. He's been featured on Saturday Night Live with Jim Carrey, The Letterman Show, Conan, The Next Best Thing, and Primetime Live with Diane Sawyer. He's been in productions of old Jews telling jokes, presumably old jokes or new jokes. Well, we'll get into
I'm middle-aged Jew.
Middle-aged Jew. Okay, we'll get
Jewish
into
jokes.
Go. Jewish jokes telling old.
I can tell
all right.
some. Okay.
The Jazz Singer, The Odd Couple, Harvey, The Honey Moners.
Yes.
Playing Ralph, of course, and has other credits too numerous to mention here. He's a stand-up, improv, burlesque clown and comedian, and all-around funny man. And you can also catch Bob in the very near future at the Triad Theater on the Upper West Side, 158 West 72nd Street, April 7th and May 26th. I'll put that up on our screen as well.
That's good.
Where he'll be appearing with the fabulous
Finkel Brothers.
Finkel Brothers. They've got to be fabulous with a name like that, right?
Yes.
And on Friday and Saturday, May 4th and 5th, he'll be at Catch a Rising Star at the Carnegie Center, not the Carnegie Deli.
Nope.
No, it's closed.
Closed. Can't go there.
They got divorced and all kinds of trouble.
Go to Katz's.
Katz's, well, all right, yes. Or Second Avenue. But this Carnegie Deli Center is going to be in Princeton, New Jersey.
There's no deli in the center.
Yeah, well, you're going to bring...
It's Princeton!
No, yeah, that's right. Very waspy. Woodrow Wilson School, right? No,
True.
he should have been...
But
impeached.
Einstein?
Yeah. And
Abyssal?
Cornell West.
Abyssal.
Oh, Abyssal, all right.
Cornell Wild?
Cornell, was he there too? We'll find.
Is Gene Wilder?
Gene Wilder, oh boy.
Natalie
yeah.
Wood. No, I don't know. I don't
you
know.
don't know. We're just making this up, but we were believing it. So listen, we've already welcomed you. So we'll
Yes.
welcome you again. Bob
Welcome.
Carly, welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Wow.
Welcome.
Hello.
This is fun.
This is more than fun.
Well, this is great. I love this
excellent.
studio. And you got
You do?
flowers, and
They're not real.
I'm going to
but-
drink your water. I'm
Yeah, but
already
you're gonna
done.
need it
Do you
because-
need a fluid? You want some fluid?
No, because then we'll both
We'll
have to go to
switch.
the restroom. And,
I know.
And then we can't do the show, and what's going to happen?
I always stay hydrated. Hydrated.
Ooh. Ooh, okay. So, yeah, stay hydrated.
Good water. Good. Yes.
Good water. It's the New York City,
Here's
whatever
my
it is.
Schwitz rag. I'll be putting this on eBay.
Yeah.
My Schwitz.
Now, Schwitz, for our non-Jewish audience.
There's
all
non-Jews
2 or 3
watching?
Well,
Oh, forget it.
it's everybody. Everybody, and this gets all over the world.
Well, you know, if you live in New York,
Israel,
you're Jewish. You know that.
Yeah, New York City.
Lenny Bruce said that if you
He
live
did.
in New York, you're Jewish.
Yeah, it doesn't.
A black guy
doesn't make
is
any
Jewish in New York. A Jew in Texas is not a Jew. There are no Jews in Texas.
Yeah, and the sort of humor and comedy and burlesque that you have opened up so many eyes to and hearts to comes from this city too. Well, actually, it goes further back, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Punch and Judy,
Punch and Judy,
Mr. Bean,
yes,
England.
I mean, slapstick comedy.
slapstick. What is slapstick?
Well, slapstick started, I guess, about, well, let's see, when couldn't they talk in theater? The Elizabethan times, right? There was a point.
Yeah, Puritan, right? The Calvinists.
So pantomime took over.
Pantomime.
You could do
and you would take a
mime.
flower and you would slap a flower.
You could, yeah, but there
or
was
a stick.
And there were horse shows, and they started to introduce clowns to horse shows. They used to have these horse competitions and stuff.
In
and
Elizabethan England.
yeah, just a little past that.
Restoration,
Yeah.
whatever.
And they would be very physical because you had to play a whole arena. So there was a slapstick. There was actually a 2-pronged stick with, I think they said it was a sheep's bladder or a lamb's bladder in the middle, and they put a little gunpowder, and when you push the stick together, psh, psh, Punch and Judy has a slapstick. Did you ever see a Punch and Judy show?
Yeah,
It's two puppets, right?
Yeah,
and they're hitting each other. And
Right.
yeah, psh,
Beating the crap out of
and there's always a noise.
Yeah.
And the old clowns also would slap one on the butt, and you'd see a little bit of gunpowder, a little smoke
they
to make that sound. And the Three Stooges did that with sound effects. With
Wait. Go back to the horses now.
Okay, the horses, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and then we'll go get to the Stooges.
I'll tell you what the history is. Okay.
Please. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
All right, shh, don't tell anybody.
We need to know this.
Well, supposedly 2 stable hands came out to assist one of the horses in this particular equestrian.
So they were going through their various
Yeah,
steps
and it was
showing off or whatever.
performed. This is actually, I guess, maybe the birth of circuses. Although I guess they did call them. They were calling when they fed Christians to the lions. Wasn't that Circus Maximus? Yeah. So the chariot races, something in the round, right, for a big audience. And
that goes back to the Greek.
That goes way back,
amphitheaters in a
right.
sense. Right. Yeah.
So supposedly there was 2 very funny, ruddy-faced stable hands who were trying to take care of something that went wrong, and the audience loved it. And whoever was the proprietor of this horse circus, I think they called them horse circus,
Okay.
thought, oh, we got to bring those guys back.
So this was for the masses. This
Yes,
was
the
entertainment.
audience,
For
yeah.
Okay, the audience who
Yeah,
were basically
And then the clown element
right.
happened. The red-faced clown represented the farmers, the people who worked with their hands out in the sun. The white-faced clown were more the straight man or the wise guy or the harlequin, which the French would take that, the harlequin.
Yeah.
Or the Italian clowns, I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sorry, Italians, Comedy dell'arte, I think I'm saying that
Sounds
right?
right.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
They used to have Harlequin had the white face, and there was an old character, and these were all stereotypes of people of that period. But the red-faced clown was usually dumber, the farmer, the
wiser.
well, the wiser, the Bugs Bunny. I would say Bugs Bunny was the white-faced clown, and Daffy Duck was the red-faced clown. Abbott was the white-faced clown, and Lou Costello was the red-faced clown.
Okay,
So that helps you any.
It does, but isn't there, now take us into a little later period with Charlie Chaplin.
Well, that's
and
a
these
tramp clown.
Tramp clown.
So I would say the tramp.
Music halls in the English music
Yeah,
halls?
the tramp clown sort of came from the red-faced clown, also a bit of
The underdog.
or a bit of the black-faced clown.
Okay.
The tramp often had a beard that was almost like blackface in the sense that it would be whited out here, and it would be like Emmett Kelly. Do you remember Emmett Kelly, the tramp?
Absolutely.
And so the tramp or the
Big
downtrodden...
white lips, right?
Well, not big white lips, but just, just
Yeah.
white to emphasize the mouth. You have
Right.
to also remember that these theaters were acoustic, and the lighting was gaslight. So the white helped you to see their mouths, and you could also hear better, because when you see someone speaking, believe it or not, you can hear it better. It's true. So they would adopt these, usually tramps. You wanted to appear like the honeymooners, like Ralph Cramden. You notice he had a very poor apartment, no TV, no radio. They had an ice box. It's 1955. They have an ice box.
But Trixie and...
Oh, they charged it. They like
They had the
They
TV.
charged it. They had everything upstairs, but Ralph had no worries, no debt, But Ralph and Alice, they lived like almost poverty level, just so that the audience feels, well, you could say superior, but I don't know if you want to say superior. You want to feel sorry for them, a little pathos,
Or identification.
And also we're no worse off than they are. No one in 1955 still had an icebox.
Right.
They had at least a refrigerator. If they didn't have a television, they had a radio. The Cramdens had nothing. Remember, it was a candy dish on the dresser. They had this nice tablecloth. Alice kept the apartment clean.
What was there to clean?
There was nothing to clean.
You never saw the bedroom, of course.
There was a pan. Well, we don't know what's going on in that bedroom. We don't know.
Yeah, no,
we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't want to know. But anyway, the pan was under. The pan and the mousetrap were under the ice box, and that's about it.
And Ralph demanded his dinner. The second
Had to get his dinner when he came home.
But
we digress.
But this is gonna. Yeah, but. Okay, so when did we thought the Jews invented all this? So when did the Jews?
How did the Jews? You want to go Jew? Okay.
Well, no, for part of it, bring everybody.
I'll go back to the shtetl.
All right.
Marriages were arranged, like Fiddler on the Roof. Marriages were arranged, and often the bride didn't know the groom.
With my grandfather, he got the hell out and met his wife in Germany.
They didn't know the in-laws. They didn't know whatever.
Right.
Often they would hire a tumla. I think they called it a bakan or something like that, to entertain, to roast, like the friars we roast, to make fun of. Oh, look at the butcher, look at that, oh boy.
Look who you're going to get stuck with, or maybe.
And it was a way of the two families to laugh together and enlighten. I mean, imagine, you don't know.
Break the ice.
You don't know. Right? You don't know who's under that veil. You don't know these people. It's all been arranged. I guess the parents knew each other. In some cases, maybe not.
One would hope somebody knew somebody.
I guess the matchmaker knew. So
you got this fee or
right.
Fee,
right. Yeah. So there's so many great matchmaker jokes, but. I'll be digressing if I go in there. But anyway, they would brag, so you'd say, is she a good dancer? Oh, such a dancer, regular Ginger Rogers. Is she athletic? Athletic, just like, Johnny Weissmuller, swings from vines. She can swim and everything. But I heard she has a pimple on her back. A pimple? Oh, it's a regular hump. These are the jokes, so. And the other one, someone saying, oh, she's so smart. Oh, she cleans so great. Oh, she's this, she's that, on and on and on. And the young man says, but is she good in bed? And the matchmaker says, well, some say yes, some say no. That's a five-ish Finkel joke.
Terrific. Wow.
But anyway, in the ghettos, in the shtetls, they would have this guy. And then comes, a lot of them come to New York, right? And there's vaudeville. Burlesque. And the Irish.
What's the difference between vaudeville and burlesque?
Okay, vaudeville and burlesque. This is kind of. Burlesque was originally an all-female group.
More raunchy?
No, they wore tights. This is it.
Well,
I'll tell you what the original burlesque show.
Okay.
And you'd have to look up. I think it's Pinkham. Might be Lydia Pinkham. I'm not certain. She had a show in Britain, brought it to the States, and it was all women. Sometimes playing men roles, sometimes, but they all wore tights. Tights were hot We're talking, what, 1880s, 18s.
Okay.
Tights, women in tights.
Garters.
You could see,
No?
you could see tights, like you could see a leg, whoa, an arm.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a little cleavage, I'm not sure about that, you know.
Okay.
This is when women wore bustles, collars up to here. Think about this, right? And the gloves, right, and all that. So this was, but they weren't raunchy. It was more comical. It was women in tights, maybe doing some scenes from different plays.
But it got raunchy into.
Well,
was it? But stay to your point, and then we'll.
Yeah,
as
the
it just
the
evolves.
burlesque from the beginning,
Right.
when it featured comedians, they started to add comedians like Weber and Fields. It was more like a Marx Brothers movie, where they would all of a sudden, someone would break into song, or there would be a dance or something. The girls in that portion would be cute or in tights, you know, but it wasn't raunchy.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the word burlesque, they would do a burlesque on Othello or a burlesque on Hamlet.
Parody.
A parody. They also used to use the word travesty, a travesty on something. And that was what Mel Brooks does with Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. So, but the word burlesque was part of that.
Okay.
Eventually, burlesque, when it came up against vaudeville, now what's vaudeville? There was something called music hall in Britain. You'd go to a pub, you'd order a drink, and then on a little stage, people would come out and sing, sometimes tell jokes. One of Charlie Chaplin's first gigs was dressed up as a Hebrew comedian, coming out and telling jokes that he felt later on were anti-Semitic, but he didn't know. He didn't even know any Jews when he was a young, performer. But he would he did a stand-up routine at one point, because Hebrew characters were popular. Or it could be anything, juggling, a trapeze artist, balancing act.
Within the pub, though.
Within the pub, so lots of noise. You had to
Lots
get
of
people's
noise
attention.
and
I think there was a stage manager and a high.
Hecklers.
You know, he'd have a cane and he would pound it or a gavel to quiet people down.
Okay.
And that evolved into vaudeville. And we had dime museums. Here's, I'm going to something else. P.T. Barnum used to have dime museums. You pay a dime. Sometimes they were Nickelodeons.
Yeah.
You go in and you would see JoJo, you know, the beard-faced boy, or you would see the mermaid, or you would see the fattest woman in the world.
Bearded lady? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a little bit
all this stuff.
Sideshows.
Sideshow.
Sideshows, okay.
But there would also be vaudeville acts.
So
In
this
different
wasn't
things.
a circus.
No, it was a museum, a dime museum.
Interesting. Okay.
And
Arcade.
And the music, as you proceeded through this venue, you would hear music and you'd go into this room. And these performers, they'd perform all day. I mean, 12 hours.
Wow.
You know, they would do 8-minute turns so that they weren't,
Yeah, totally.
but they were working.
Right.
And then somebody would say, this way to the egress, this way to the egress. And you'd wonder, what is this egress? It was the exit. It got people out. So these performers got into doing these little acts.
Yeah.
And that evolved into what was called vaudeville. And it was Tony Pastor who put up a theater at 14th Street. 14th Street was like the hot. Was like
Second Avenue.
Well,
right? Or no?
No, that's more of the Jewish.
The Yiddish.
Yeah.
Yiddish theater?
Okay. I would say the 14th Street, well, maybe, no, I think Tony Pastor was a little more west.
Okay.
More of the Gentile, more of the
Fifth Avenue. Or
right, Fifth Avenue, more of Life with Father, you know, more that period,
yeah,
okay?
Okay.
And Tony Pastor had clean vaudeville, family vaudeville, because in some of the saloons and whatnot, it was pretty raunchy. It was a man's show or a men's show. And he realized that bringing the wives and the kiddies, because there was no television. There was no radio.
Right. This was it.
So they could come to an 11 o'clock show.
Yeah.
They can come to a 2 o'clock show.
Yeah.
Come to a 5 o'clock show. They can come to an 8 o'clock show.
Like the Film Forum. 11 a.m. Yeah.
5 a day.
5 a day.
5 a day was the worst vaudeville, 5 a day. High-class vaudeville was 2 a day. That was the Palace. A matinee and evening performance. Matinee for the ladies and the kids or whatever. evening for men and hopefully their wives, but maybe not, you know, and the adults.
This
But
is
still,
14th Street, or is this moving up to Broadway?
well, that Palace is Broadway. I pushed us up. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was.
So put the Palace over here.
And this is all your heritage. This is what you bring. This unbelievable heritage to.
right,
your
right,
performances.
and that was where vaudeville started.
Okay.
Then it vaudeville oozed into Ziegfeld Follies. Now we're up on 42nd Street.
50, okay.
42nd Street, right?
Right.
And Ziegfeld Follies, people thought Ziegfeld was crazy to go up to 42nd Street because 23 Skidoo, you never went past 23rd Street because it was considered dangerous. But when, you know, gentrification, it got better. And he had the gorgeous girls, if you remember.
Yeah.
And some would come out naked. But there was some rule.
Literally.
Yeah, if you posed, there were acts like this, living statues. If you recreated a famous painting of a naked woman
okay.
on a horse, Lady Godiva,
Yeah.
and the curtains opened, and there she stood, naked.
Yeah,
And it might be cold. You know. Anyway, she's on the horse. As long as she doesn't move, it's okay. And then the curtains, because it's art. But if she moves,
And all the
anything
cops are there,
shakes,
probably enjoying this.
I shake all the time. I'd be arrested. Yeah.
Right.
But you know, yeah. So you, yeah. So you couldn't dance. You couldn't shimmy, but you could. And Ziegfeld.
How about up in Harlem?
Well, things got on the Lower East Side with Minsky's and they started to do more interesting things like the striptease and dancing around, and that was more to attract a lower income clientele.
Right.
And that was the birth of the burlesque show, as opposed to the vaudeville show was family entertainment.
Got it. Got it.
And there were low-end vaudeville and there were high-end vaudeville. I think Sarah Bernhardt, she got like 10 grand or something,
Wow,
and
wow.
I think she had to get paid in coin or gold before every you know what I mean?
Right,
I mean,
right.
there was big money.
Yeah, yeah.
Al
yeah.
Jolson, who was on Broadway
Yeah.
for the Schuberts, he made good money, but if he did a vaudeville engagement, through the roof. Vaudeville paid a lot, and you didn't have to do much. You could do 8 minutes. You could do 12 minutes. You could do 18 minutes, depending on where in the bill. The Marx Brothers did 45 minutes. They could do the second half because they did what they used to call a tableau or a tabloid show. It was like a mini Broadway show.
So they were doing skits and all kinds.
They
so
would do
They weren't.
The Marx Brothers, just to go talk about
Yeah,
the Marx Brothers,
yeah.
they started out as a singing act.
Really?
And they started adding women and whatnot, and then they started adding comedy and sketches. They had a school act.
Didn't Groucho want to go to medical school?
Did he?
That's what I understood.
He played a German professor originally in the school sketch. I think it was called Fun in High School, Hiskule, right? Groucho was a German teacher, which he had to fix a little bit comes World War I, into more of a New York or Jewish character. Chico, who I think was called like the Wop or something, was an Italian character. Harpo, red hair, was Irish. But I think he couldn't remember his lines, similar to Curly, or he didn't project well. Eventually he just started doing more silent bits, and he becomes Harpo Marx.
Right.
And Zeppo, well, Gummo comes before Zeppo. They were like the straight singer or the nice juvenile type thing.
So-
And that act developed into something more, where they could actually be the second half of a vaudeville bill, because within their act, they would do, the teacher would say, Chico, how about a song? He'd sit at the piano, he'd do a song. Harpo, and it was part of we're putting on an entertainment.
tableau, as you say.
Yeah, right. We're putting on an entertainment under the guise of a little play. And
45 minutes. So they take it.
second half of the show, second part of the show. Yeah.
Now listen,
Did that confuse you?
that was brilliant.
All right.
Brilliant. I told you we had this.
It all overlaps. It
does, doesn't it? And then you have the film.
Right. Well, and
developing,
then I think you talked about the Jews. The Irish were the really
You're talking, yeah.
right.
The Irish too.
The Irish and the Germans. No, the Irish and then the Jews kind of formed these comedy teams. The Three Keatons, featuring baby Buster Keaton, was an Irish knockabout comedy team. There were Jewish comedians like Weber and Fields who did German dialect.
And later Burns and Allen.
Well, they didn't do German. Yeah, they didn't do German dialect,
not
but they did what we would call like a Abbott and Costello type act. They were the originals, though. They did one guy's an immigrant, doesn't understand. I'll meet you on Vott Street. Vott Street, yes, Vott Street. What street are we going to meet on?
Who's on Second, right?
That's the original. Okay.
Interesting.
What do you do in the bakery? I'm a loafer. Oh, you don't work? No, I'm a loafer. Well, if you're a loafer, they can't pay you to, So they did that, and so you had those dialect comedians, and soon there's Jewish dialect comedians. I mean, the issues with blackface and blackface with the minstrel. Well, the minstrel show. I should go back to. I should go. The minstrel show came basically from the South originally. May have started in Washington, though. In that show, they would black up, like clown white, but black up, and they would do songs and dances that white people weren't doing or weren't listening to. People like Stephen Foster, and even later on Al Jolson would go to black communities and hear this music, and white people weren't dancing like that. So they would actually play sort of a black character, and they'd have like 8 or 9 of them sitting on the stage like a concert. You had an interlocutor. Now, the interlocutor was a guy not in blackface. He was in the center. He was like the MC. And he'd say, Mr. Bones, and there'd be a guy at the end. And Tambone, I think it was the other one, Mr. Bones and Mr. Tambone.
Or Hambone.
Or Hambone or whatever. Didn't I see you with a, and they would get up and he'd bring people together.
And the audience was largely white.
Yes.
Totally.
Although there was blackface. There were black troops in blackface doing this. And sometimes the comedians, there was a comedian named, you may remember him, Pigmeat Markham, who went to the 60s and whatever.
Yeah.
He always wore blackface. He was a black comedian.
Yeah.
Burt Williams.
Yeah.
You've heard of him. Very famous Ziegfeld star. Black actor, wore blackface, because it was considered a character. And the black actors didn't feel like they were representing black people. They were representing this particular type of character.
So like
Mr.
Amos
Bones.
and Andy, though, becomes a little...
Right.
But listen, you are unbelievable.
I'm all
You're
over
a
the place.
walking genius. Okay, but listen, I want to know, you are immersed with this as a kid. What happens to you? How did you...
What happened to me?
What happened to you?
What happened to me?
I don't know. I mean, you must have... Did you go to school? Were you doing this? I mean, were you... No, I mean, I'm sure you went to school.
You're going to do the old joke. Did you go to school stupid? Yes, and I came home the same way. No.
No, but what got you going on this? Because you are a continuation of this incredible tradition and heritage. I mean, what was it? To attract women?
Yes.
Girls?
The ladies, they love your Al Jolson stories.
No.
Oh, talk about Eddie Cantor, the girls, they just...
No, or to keep you from getting beat up, or I don't know, just... yeah, okay. Where were you? You were born in where?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Of course.
Originally Brownsville.
Okay.
I would say my love for the old movies and things may have occurred when we moved to Kings Highway and 54th Street between Avenue D and Foster.
Okay.
I was always into black and white movies. We had a color TV, but if it was black and white, it was interesting. I have no idea why. I love the comedians, Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello. Oh, the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges were on every day. The Little Rascals was on every day. And I would watch the same rotation.
Late in the afternoon, right? But there's some early in the morning,
from school.
Too.
Yeah.
It was on a couple of
times. Maybe in the morning, too.
But
I would watch them when I come home from school.
And then you wanted to, what? You wanted to, hey, I want to do this.
I would be in the schoolyard, and I would be doing Alfred Hitchcock impressions. I used to stay up and watch Alfred Hitchcock present. I would do that, good kid thing. And
how old are you? How old are you then?
First grade, second grade. What is that?
6, 7 years old?
7 years old, yeah. I was doing Laurel and Hardy. I was doing... I was doing them in the
So how do the kids
in the
respond
schoolyard.
to that?
Well,
what is with?
But you have to remember.
Kick his ass or something. Well, what do they do?
They laughed.
They laughed, yeah.
You have to remember they were all watching it. I mean, now we have so many different options, but when you were a young person, I'm dating myself. I was born in 1960. Okay. Afternoon TV was predominantly old TV shows or old movies like Abbott and Costello,
the Westerns
Laurel and Hardy.
And stuff.
Yeah, but the kids didn't watch the Westerns.
No,
that was for the adults.
Right.
Gunsmoke, that was primetime viewing.
The kids. Yeah.
Bugs Bunny, Popeye. These were the things, you know, they were funny people like Chuck McCann and Sandy Becker who did these shows where they would show cartoons and do funny skits. Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney, who was a ventriloquist. This is stuff that we grew up with. So the kids all knew these people.
But you were a natural. I mean, you did this.
Yeah, I somehow adopted these things.
I mean, so this stuff comes to you for, I mean, look, you've got to form it and think about it.
Fact? What is this?
No, I'm just, I'm part Mediterranean, so I just gesticulate.
Yeah.
That is, I move my hands around a lot. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay, but no.
Italians, Jews.
No, Greeks, I don't know what to do.
Okay, yeah.
All right. But seriously, no, I'm excited. This is, and I've got to tell you, look, when at the forum there, I mean, these kids just fell all over you, and they were heckling you, and you had, I mean, and
I know, I'm telling the kids, and don't try this at home. And one kid yells out, "Why not?"
Yeah, it was so precious.
And I say, unless you're a licensed stooge professional.
No, but you just connected in such a way, and it was just
Thank you.
It was just beautiful to just see.
Well, you do have to tell children, especially nowadays. You can't poke each other in the eye and stuff, because they were pros. They would choreograph this stuff.
And Mo was
always up here. Hunts Hall, who played Satch of the Bowery Boys, I met him once.
Okay.
And I was doing some Curly commercials and whatnot, and I went to do the Robert Klein time show. Robert Klein had a show on USA Network. Yeah. And Hunts Hall was going to be a guest. And so Klein introduces me to Hunts Hall. He played Satch on the Bowery Boys. And he says, Mr. Hall, this is Bob Greenberg. He's the new Curly. And Hunts Hall gets excited. He goes, I drove Shemp to Curly's funeral. Shemp was Curly's brother and also one of the Stooges. And you know how they used to poke each other in the eyes like this? And he literally does it right here. And this is the trick. Of course, you go like react, so you can't tell that it didn't really go in the eyes. And he went on and on about Shemp taught me everything about comedy and all this stuff. So yeah, they didn't hurt each other. They tried not to hurt each other. Occasionally they did.
Get hurt.
Yeah. There are stories of people, and they didn't like getting hurt. They did not like it. Curly, I think, got it the worst when they performed on stage. Yeah. Because when they would they did these movies with the sound effects and everything, and they would do a live appearance. Later on, when they worked with Curly Joe DeRita, who was a replacement, they had somebody off stage with sound effects. But I think in the 30s and 40s, they didn't do that. So they would just really sort of smack each other as lightly as they could. But Joan Mora, who's Mo's daughter, used to say she'd be in the wings, and Mo would slap Curly on the top of his shaved head and make a sound. He had a way of hitting it in such a way that it made a sound. But a couple times she said, Uncle Curly looked like he was a little gone for a moment because it was a little too hard. Right. So don't try this at home, you got to be careful. Buster Keaton said, they once asked Buster Keaton for these routines where they're running around and banging into each other. He says, you must really rehearse that stuff a lot. He says, oh, no. We talk about what we're going to do. We walk around. We say, I'll bump into you here. You fall down here. That's going to come down there. He says, and then we just do it. And if we get it right the first time, we move on. And he said, when you rehearse, that's where you get hurt. And of course, these aren't just strangers off the street. This is like a company of actors that they work together all the time. They know how to fall,
And the physical humor was about what?
Physical comedy is universal. We still laugh at a pie in the face or someone slipping on a banana peel.
But what is that about, too? I mean,
people used to hit each other. Sadly enough, children used to get spanked.
Still are.
Teachers, I think my father used to tell me that he had an Irish teacher, and he was in the Lower East Side with a multitude of rings, and she would hit the kids on the back with this heavy ring, and you felt it. It wasn't uncommon. I think there's an episode of Mad Men where a father slaps a kid across the face for doing something, and we assume he's the father of that child. Then the real father says, what happened? He says, oh, well, he did this. And so I cracked him one across the face. Oh, good. See, let that be. I mean, no, anybody could slap a kid.
Right, I see.
You know what I'm saying? And it was very common to, sadly, beat a horse to get it going and things like that. So when people would go, especially they were lower income audiences, especially to the early silent movies, it appealed. It was cheap. It was a nickel. You could get to the movies.
Yeah.
When Charlie Chaplin was working for a moving man, and something happens with the horse or whatever, he assumes the mule or the horse, and he's pulling the wagon, and the guy's whipping him, and we watch it today and we go, is that funny? You know? But in those days, that kind of stuff happened to some of the lower, and they would laugh as a release.
As a release, I was just going to say.
Right,
as a defensive release.
You know, it's funny, today comedians always come across smarter than their audience, or maybe a little above their audiences. Comedians in the old days wanted to connect with the audience. They didn't want to appear superior. We were supposed to be together, or maybe I was supposed to be a little below you, so you felt sorry for me. There's the pathos.
Aristotle.
Pathos.
Identified that too, yeah.
Yeah, Fred Carno, who had his troupe of comedians that Chaplin came out of and Stan Laurel came out of it, used to talk about wistfulness. Like if you get hit on the head or something happens, have a moment where you react like I was in pain or that hurt, whatever. The audience connects with that.
And that's what made
humanity.
The humanity of Curly.
And
too. The merriment in the face of all the troubles.
Although clowns are not supposed to get hurt. You knock them down, they pop on up.
Right, which he does.
Right.
Nothing can defeat. You do, well, we showed that. You do a tremendous imitation of Curly.
Oh, yes.
Doing the Titanic.
Yeah.
And the icebergs are coming. Go away. Yeah,
right. Go away.
Oh no, we've got to talk about all the stuff you're doing.
Certainly.
Now we have here. We're gonna putting this up on the screen as well.
Right, the Triad.
You're gonna be at the Triad
with the Finkel Brothers.
What do the Finkel Brothers do? What do they?
Ian Finkel is the world's greatest xylophonist. You can look this up. Okay. And Elliot Finkel is a renowned concert pianist, and they have a band. You know, sometimes a different guitar player or drummer, but it's a band, and they play great music. I'm talking Gershwin, Irving Berlin, really great. Cab Calloway, Fats Waller, you know, a real.
Really? Okay.
And they're amazing. And then they introduce me, and I do like 30 minutes of comedy. I'm like the featured comedian. The Finkel name may be familiar to you. Five-ish Finkel, I think I mentioned him before.
Yes.
He was on Picket Fences, Boston Legal, I think it was called. They used to work with Fivers. I'm kind of filling in for Fivers, but they're his sons.
So
Finkel family.
And you do your imitations now.
I do my stand-up. I do stand-up. I do a legit stand-up act. I also tell jokes. I do a lot of improv with the audience. I love hecklers. You know, I work great with hecklers. That if anyone says anything to me, you know, I have something to say back, and that makes the shows very memorable. You know. So
and then you're going to be also at Princeton now.
Right.
As well.
At the Triad. April 7th and May 26th. It's the Finkel Brothers.
Saturdays at 9:30, which is West 72nd Street.
Right.
Okay, that's Finkel
Brothers. And then
Brothers.
in Princeton, New Jersey, Catch a Rising Star.
Okay.
And that's May 4th and 5th. And I'm co-headlining with Nancy Lombardo. And then I'm doing 30 to 40 minutes of stand-up comedy. And I do the impressions too. And I look at the audience. If they're a little young, I might skew them a little differently or bring them into the bits and stuff.
It's still very
everybody knows
clean.
Ralph Cramden.
Yeah.
It's a clean act. I do a clean act. I can do some blue stuff, but my blue is PG-13 blue. You know.
So that's a conscious effort on your part.
I do clean comedy. Yes.
You just feel that that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and should we mention the Actors Temple?
Absolutely. This is really something very, very important. We're doing it all. Okay, and this is backed by popular demand. Bob Greenberg presents the Actors Temple Comedy Benefit. Now, you've got to tell us about this.
It's June 3rd. It's Sunday. The Actors Temple's on 47th Street.
Between 8th and 9th Avenue.
It's a jewel of a shul. Real actors used to perform there and be members of it. Sophie Tucker was a regular member. Smith and Dale were regular members. And we do a show once a year, Comedy Benefit, and this is...
To restore.
Right. We're trying to get a chairlift. We don't have a chairlift. So we need a chairlift for the elder folks to go up the stairs.
Right.
So
remember Sophie Tucker.
That's right, and so we're raising money for that, and we have a great cast of stand-up comics, and sometimes we have people like, oh, there's the flyer. That's nice. Sometimes we have people like Pat Cooper or Elaine Boozler. If I can get a celebrity to come in and do 5 minutes. Freddie Roman did it last year, Stewie Stone. We have Bernie Burns. Bernie Burns was considered the king of the Catskills. He's going to be 90 in June, June 22nd. So hopefully he'll make it, and he'll be our
I'm definitely coming.
He'll be our elder statesman. We always have an older comic, like an Quarry, who passed away, unfortunately.
What's it, about 99?
No, Irwin was almost 103, and people would ask me, well, what happened? I said, oh, he fell off his bicycle. The parachute didn't open. He was almost 103, 102 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him a couple of times.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, he was
still there.
He was actually at the Left Forum, this progressive. He was.
Everything's left with him.
Yeah, I know. It's right.
He left us, and he's very lefty.
Oh my! And we're left with only a minute. And
a minute.
We just. This is. I feel like we just sat down 5 minutes ago here, but
this was fun. I know.
But are you working on a new impression?
Oh my God. No, I'm not. I mean, I do some Chris Christie stuff, but Chris Christie is gonna be like Chris Christie's not even a blimp on the radar, right? I mean, he's disappearing. But no, I
went down the Jersey Shore. But yuck, we gotta go. We got 10 seconds, but leave us with a little curly here.
Certainly. Yeah. She was bred in old Kentucky, but she's just a crumb up here. Yeah. She's knock-kneed and double-jointed, and she has a cauliflower ear. One day when we get married, if vegetables are dear, I won't fret, no worry. I'll just bite a slice off her ear. Ruff. Certainly.
Thank you, Bob. That was beautiful.
I was painless.
That was wonderful. Thank you again. We're going to have you back again.
Oh, I'd love to.
Listen, this is Jim Vrettos. This has been terrific fun. Thank you, Bob, so very much. We'll see you next week on The Radical Imagination. And our next show will be Mark Rudd.
Mark Rudd!
Mark Rudd from the night. Mark Rudd!
Oh, Mark Rudd!
You know Mark. He was down at the Yiddish Theater, and also he made a trip at Columbia in 1968, leading the rebellion here. And so we're going to follow that. What are comedic imaginations of radical imagination? Thank you again, Bob, so very much. All the best.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. See you next week.
God bless.
On the Radical Imagination.
Sei gesund. Good Yontif.
That's right. Good Yontif. To all of
Happy
you.
Pesach. You're looking at me like you think I'm Chris Christie. I'm not the New Jersey governor. I'm not. I'm Bob Greenberg. I'm going to do some impressions for you. I'm going to do Bernie's favorite impressions, okay? And there'll be no segues. What's a segue? About 5 pounds. No. No segues. First, a Jewish Alfred Hitchcock. Shabbat Shalom. Lou Costello at the John Gotti trial. Mr. DA, are you asking me if I think John Gotti's a member of organized crime? Well, I'll tell you, confidentially, oh, there's John Gotti. There's John Gotti. John Gotti! Thank you. Stan Laurel as Prissy the maid in Gone with the Wind. Oh, Miss Scarlet, I don't know nothing about birth and babies. Mammy says if you put your knife under the bed, it cuts the pain, but I don't know. What, Mr. Butler? You don't give a damn? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Here's Oliver Hardy calling the sex hotline. Hello. It certainly is. Yes, I would like a spanking. Oh. 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 Well, here's another fine mess you've got me into. Well, thank you, Dominatrix. Goodbye. Thank you. Yes, Gleason. Someone just got this one. Jackie Gleason is next. Here's Jackie Gleason doing Shakespeare. To be or not to be? Oh, that is the question. Because you know that I know. That you know that I'm the Prince of Denmark. Well, I'm the prince. I am the prince, and Ophelia's a mental case. No. Now is the winter of our discontent. Made glorious summer by this son of York. A horse, no, my kingdom for a horse. Or a string of Peloponnese. Peloponnese! If you tickle us, do we not laugh? Ha, 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 ha. If you prick us, do we not bleed? Norton, will you prick me? Will you prick me, Norton? Norton, will you... Ah! At two, Norton. At two. Iago, you are a blabbermouth. A blabbermouth. Desdemona, bang, zoom to the moon, Desdemona to the moon. Juliet, what can I say but baby, thou art the greatest. Elizabethan audiences are the greatest audiences in the world. Good night, everybody. I'm Bob Greenberg. Happy birthday, Bertie.
Mr. Bob Greenberg, I love you. You're terrific. Love him.